Hi everyone, this is Sumit K. So today we'll cover how to create MCP servers. We'll take an example of server developers. This is my second video in the MCP series. So we will create a server or MCP servers, and we will use that server with our Cloudy for desktop. As if you have watched my first video on MCP, then where we have covered what is Cloudy for desktop. Cloudy for desktop is nothing; it's just an hosting for the MCP client. So in this tutorial, we will build a simple MCP weather server and connect it to a host. So in our case, it is going to be a Cloudy for desktop. We will do with the very basic setup, and then we will proceed with some complex use case. So what we are building. So many LLM do not have the ability to fetch the forecast and severe weather alerts. So we will use MCP to solve that, right? So we will build a server, an MCP server that will expose two tools. Here we have get alerts and get forecast. And then we will connect this server to our MCP host. In this case, we have a Cloudy for desktop. And this is a screenshot. Okay, so since this MCP server connect to the any client, but we will why we are choosing Cloudy for desktop, because just to make things simpler, and we can. But alternatively, you can make your or you can build your own client. Uh, if you want to see the list of other clients, you can see it from here. But we will discuss this point later. Now, the core MCP concept, I have already discussed this in my previous video. These are the three important capabilities that MCP server does. The first is resource. Resource is nothing, it's like a file like data that can be read by the clients. For example, readme.md or any files, right? It's a normal API response, right? That can read your content or write the content. Tools is a very important capabilities of the MCP server, which act as a function that can be called by the LLM based on the user query. Prompts are pre-written templates that basically helps the user to accomplish certain tasks. We'll see this later when we cover the complex MCP server setup. So this tutorial will you will there are some prerequisites like you have the Python installed, you have some familiarity with the Python, then LLMs like Cloudy or GPT or Gemini. System requirement, you have Python 3.10 or higher should be installed. Minimum is 3.10, and you must use the Python MCP SDK 1.2.0 or higher. So let's go ahead and use in our terminal. You can follow the this guideline. I'm just following the same guideline just to show you how this you can set up in your machine. So if you look at it here, we have this terminal wherein I have this MCP folder. So under this MCP folder, what you need to do, let me create a new one. First of all, let me just create a new one. I will take it MCP1, go to this terminal, and the first thing that you need to do is to first install the UV and set up our Python project. Oh, sorry, my bad. So it's gonna install and download the UV, and then I think this virtual environment is still activated. Let me just deactivate it. I'll try to use it from the scratch. Now it's downloading the UV. Everything is installed. Now the next thing is we have to create a new directory called weather. So this is the command. So you'll see that there is a new directory called weather, and it has initialized all the files like main, readme, and all those things. And then we're gonna move to this directory. Here, just create a virtual environment which is V and then simply activate it. Then we install the dependency using the uv add. So this will actually, what it does, this command will install all the dependency which is required for the MCP servers and this HTTPX. So you can see that these many dependencies have been installed, and now simply create a file called weather.py. Right, so you can see that this is a file weather.py has been created. Now we will write some code over here. So what we are going to do, let me copy this entire code over here and I'll explain you from the scratch. So the first thing is we have the library. We are importing the library and initialize it. We are having this MCP tool, that is a fast MCP coming from the MCP servers, and then we are initializing the fast MCP server with the name weather. These are the constants like the API for National Weather Service, and this is a user agent. So all the National Weather Service information is coming from this particular website over the internet. Okay, and then we have something called reusable API request function, which is making the National Weather Service request. So basically, it's calling the API request to this particular API. The purpose of this particular function is basically handles all the HTTP GET requests to the weather API, and then error handling, right? And it will return the JSON response with active alerts. For example, active alerts in California or active alerts in Texas, depending on the state that we are defining here, right? Here. And then we have a format alert. The format alert is nothing, it's basically takes an alert that which is returned in this JSON format, and then it format it into a human readable string. So maybe so here you can see that it format with the events, the area where these events happen, the severity like warning it, or it is a critical alerts, or the severity of the alerts, then the description, for example, flooding expectations or heavy rainfall kind of things. Those kind of alerts will be described in the description. Then instruction like how to avoid those kind of alert. Now this is very important, like MCP tool. It basically fetches. So here we are defining two tool. One is get alert, and another is get forecast, right? And this is very important because this tool is getting the weather alerts for all the US states, and this is the argument two-letter US code needs to be entered when it fetch the alerts. So it fetches the active weather alerts for a given US state, right? And again we have a second tool called weather forecast tool, and again this get weather forecast for this particular location. The argument, it is looking for the latitude for this particular location, and longitude for that particular locations, right? So so again, it they also format it like this, like the name of that, name of the forecast, temperatures, wind speed, like all those things, forecast details. Like it is basically giving you a nice format for forecasting the data. And then finally we are running the server. We'll actually starting the fast MCP server using the standard input output. So a standard input output is when we run the MCP server locally, but when you run your MCP server on the remote host, you can't use standard input output. I'll cover this transport layer part in our upcoming video. Now the next thing is we have to run this server, right? So how would you run this server? Um, so basically there is a command which is uv run MCP install. So you can see that this added server weather to the cloudy config successfully installed weather in the cloudy app. So since we are using the cloudy desktop as a MCP client, which is hosted on the cloudy desktop. So the first thing that we need to do, we'll make sure that the cloudy desktop is installed. If it is not installed, you can install it from the official website, and then we will configure the cloudy desktop configuration JSON file to add these MCP servers that we want to use. So how do you do that? I have this MCP server. Let me open it. And so if you look at this here, I have this option cloudy. Go to settings and then go to developer and edit config file. So you'll see this kind of a file, and just you open this with the text editor. Now here you can see, if I just open this one, yeah, so here you you are already seeing this the server is already registered with the MCP server, and you can see the absolute path, right? So the last command that we have run, it has actually registered the absolute path, right? So absolute path in this particular configuration. If it is not there, then you need to make sure that this particular path is there, right? Otherwise it will not run. So everything is fine now. And basically why this configuration is needed, so this tells this particular file tells the cloudy desktop that there is an MCP server named weather, and you have to use that when someone send the query related to the weather for the US state. And you have to make sure that you must provide the absolute path, right? And then you can save the file. Now when you open this here, you will see here your tools. So these are the two tools: get alerts and get forecast. If you see it here, we have the two tools here, get forecast and get alerts, right? This tool will be appearing here in the search and tools. If you have more tools, you'll see more tools over here, right? You can disable or enable the tools depending on your needs. So the first thing that we are going to do, um, we are going to ask some questions, okay? So what is the question? Let me ask here. What is the weather report in let's say California? So here, see, this is actually, since have asked this question, the weather report in California, it is looking for the get alerts. So I'll say allow once. So see, the state name is CA. So I think it is providing the weather alerts in the California, like wind advisory, lake wind advisory, like right, all this information, like this is providing this information. Now let's see the active weather alerts. Active weather alerts in Texas. Let's see that. Now it is again asking. It is again requesting for the get alerts. So allow once. So this is the active alerts. I'm getting the response for active alerts. What if you ask this question like, what is the current weather of Delhi? So the agent, I mean this MCP server or the tools where we have defined the tools, it doesn't know the correct API, because if you look at this code, we have specifically specified this one, uh, this weather service, for which is actually a service that fetches the report of the United States, not the India. If you want to see the weather status or alert status of Indian states, then you should use this. You should replace the URL here. So this is how it works. So what is happening under the hood is basically, when you ask a question, the client sends your questions to the cloudy desktop. The cloudy analyze the available tools and decide which ones to use. Then the client execute the chosen tool through the MCP server, and the results are back to the cloudy. The cloudy formulate the natural language response, and the response is displayed to you. Right? This is how you can create a MCP server. You just need to follow the documentation. I just follow the same document, and you should be able to create a MCP server which will connect to your cloud desktop, which hosts the MCP client. Right. So um, for additional thing, like you want to see the logs for cloud desktop, you can also see the logs, which is again in the same directory. If you just go for setting, not the same directory, if I show you here. Um, so this is the you want, if you want to see the logs for the Cloudy for desktop. So this is the location, right? It's the same path where we have this configuration file of Cloudy for the MCP server. So you can see the logs, of how the MCP connections or connection failures and all those things, right? So this is a very nice document. You can just go through it and um, create your first MCP servers. All right, and this is also a weather API issues. So the coordinates are outside the US. The new API is failing issue. So okay, so this is just a kind of an information that you can read it. So in next video, what I will do, we will build a client, or we might use the example servers over here. So how we can use the example servers? So example servers, basically the servers which is managed by the third party. So we can connect our cloud desktop or MCP client to those MCP servers and fetch the required data, or the list of tools we can fetch it. And based on our requirement, we can use those tools to interact with the user's query, right? So we will see that in action in our next video. Thank you for watching.